Today we are going to be talking about this guy right here. So this is a Streamlight SuperTac IR. This is a IR only flashlight, and you can see on here the size of this thing is quite large. I wanted to get something to enhance the ability of my Gen 1 nods, which is right here. And again, these are the Sightmark Ghost Hunters. These are the 1X kind. They've been discontinued from what I've seen, but all Gen 1 night vision would basically fall into the same category of what I'm about to go over. But the Streamlight here, I wanted to see if I could find something that would allow me with Gen 1 nods to be able to see out past, say 50 yards, something like that. Because where I'm at currently, using these NVGs, which they have an IR Illuminator on there. And this IR Illuminator is good out to probably about, 25, 30 yards, something like that, to where you can see well. Past that, it helps. I mean, it does illuminate a little bit, but you're not going to get a whole lot of details compared to using something like this. And obviously on my rifle over there, I don't know if you can see it or not, it's on the end right here. It's an Inforce, and it's a white light and an IR light, and it's an Inforce light. It mounts on the top. I've been using that, and it's probably about 50% brighter than the one that's built into this one. And it's 50% brighter, and it has more spill to it, or more flood to it, so it actually lights up a wider area versus this one's a little bit more focused. So the Inforce is actually, a lot more usable than something on here is, and it's mounted to my gun. But both of those options are really only good out to, maximum maybe 50 yards at best, and that's in like complete darkness. But anything, closer than that, so CQB distances really is what I would consider those options to be, which was a limitation of this. It pretty much made this only useful for, say, land navigation at night, like if you're going through the woods or whatever at nighttime, it would make this useful. Or if you were doing, CQB, building clearing or something in the dark and you wanted nods for that, these would work fine. So I wanted something to see if I could be able to get away with using these farther out, say maybe 100 yards, something like that. Because obviously with these, I could not see that far. Well, I could see that far, but since it's IR dependent, unless there was some sort of ambient light that was fairly bright, it wasn't going to pick it up to where you could actually see it all that well, especially not in detail to identify what it was. So in comes this, and there's a few different options out there. Nightcore makes one, a few other companies make one, and this is one of the cheaper ones that I saw. This one's made by Streamlight, and Streamlight makes good products. I've never had a problem with anything that I've bought from them as of yet. They're obviously not as good as quality as some of the other more expensive brands out there, but for what they cost, I think these things are incredibly durable. So before I go over my opinions on this light specifically and kind of the uses I would say for it, here's the packaging. Here's all the details you can read for it right there. So it comes with two CR123 batteries. It's got a tail switch. Yeah. Deep dish, yep, which allows it to be more longer range. It's made of anodized aluminum, great. Has a removable pocket clip, which I'll show you here in a second. The waterproof rating is 1 meter for 30 minutes, which, I guess if you're going scuba diving, that's not going to be good enough for you, but if you're dropping in a puddle or it's raining, that'll work just fine. The pocket clip is right here, and it is removable, and I took it off because all it does is get in the way. So there's a little screw right here, and all this does is this mounts just like this on there, and then you just put this little screw back through there and it holds it in place. So again, it would go on here just like this, and you can use that, I guess, as a pocket clip, but then this giant bell is going to be sticking out of your pocket. So I just took it off because I can't imagine myself actually putting it in any sort of pocket. If I was going to put it in anything, it'd be probably like a pouch or something, or on a rifle. So the runtime on this is about 3.5 hours on a fresh set of batteries, so that's pretty good. A lot of people would probably want to use something like this for, say, hunting. If they were, staged up somewhere and they were using night vision and they want to go hunting at night or something like that, like this would be a really good option because it's a spotlight. So that's one of the reasons why the bell on here is just so massive. It's because it focuses all that energy, all that light, the IR light, in one focus beam, so it can get a lot more throw, a lot more distance. Versus something like the Inforce or something like what's on here that is only good pretty much for up close. So I wanted something that either I could attach to my rifle or that I could possibly attach to my helmet, or worst case, I could just, have something that's handheld and then I could just use it for identifying stuff at distances. So we went out the other night and kind of tested it out, and at some point I will insert footage of what this actually looks like under night vision. Again, it's really hard to record what you can see through my iPhone and have it to where it looks like what I see. But it looks decent. Just know in the video it is brighter than it looks like what it recorded on my phone. Alright, so is it at those trees you were standing at earlier? Mm-hmm. Okay, so down there it's hard to see on here, but down there it's about 100 yards. I could see Rhett clearly enough to tell that he would have a rifle on him. I could see he's wearing a helmet, he's wearing pants, different...
Thank God.
Yeah, glad he's got those on. But about 100 yards, you can identify someone easily and whether or not they have a gun with this spotlight. Past that, you could tell there's a person easily, but you wouldn't really be able to tell what they're holding or anything like that. But you could see that there's a person probably out to what? You say it's about 300?
You could see movement at 300.
You could see movement in like the shape of a human-esque person?
Humanoid figure.
Okay. So it's a significant boost, though, to these Gen 1 nods. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a couple things that you want to know about this, and I guess I'll go over the positives first, the things I like about this. One, I like the price. It's about $80, which is cheaper than pretty much all the other options I found out there, except for like the no-name brands. I wanted something that was not necessarily super expensive, but that I knew would still be quality, and Streamlight fits that bill. And I also wanted something that I could potentially mount on either my helmet or on my rifle or something else. So now I will say this will look really, I don't know, kind of dumb or 1980s-ish, looks like a giant mag light looking at you on this end. So just know if you put it on your rifle or on your helmet or whatever, it will look a little bit goofy. But that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, and it depends on what your application is for it. So the things I like about it are, one, it's a rugged. I don't like the lens material. It's a plastic and it feels cheap compared to others. Now, it might just be because of the sheer size of this. I notice it more. But I wish, I don't know, I just don't have a lot of confidence in that. So if you have this somewhere like on your rifle, I would move it back away from the muzzle device, or I guess you could move it over the top of it to where the muzzle blast would be hitting the body, not the plastic. But I don't put a whole lot of confidence in how durable this thing is, so that's just one negative. Another negative thing about it, now that I think about it, is the body itself here. So Streamlight makes a mount that I think is specifically designed for this, and they list that on their site saying, this is a model number for the mount for this thing. But it's not a 1-inch flashlight, it's smaller than that. So whenever I was playing around with it and put it on my rifle, I actually had to wrap this thing in duct tape just to get it to where, it would fit in a 1-inch mount. And so that's kind of obnoxious. I don't like proprietary things. I know a lot of scope ring mounts or flashlight mounts will come with like little rubber gaskets that'll fit on the inside so you can put smaller stuff in there. And that's actually what I just ordered and plan on doing with this. But it's kind of annoying. Like, I don't know why Streamlight doesn't just make this body 1 inch. Like, it's not that much smaller. It's just small enough to where it won't fit in a 1-inch mount. So just know that you're going to either have to wrap it with something or buy a mount that has one of those kind of rubber gasket filler things that will make it to where it fits in a lot better. So that's negative. The tilt switch on it works just fine. One of the other big negatives about this thing, and this is going to be pretty much true of any lower cost IR lights, is on here, now I turn it off, you can see that glow. So that glow, while it doesn't look that bright here, it's not super bright, and you can see as I move it away from the camera itself, it kind of disappears. So just know that if you're using this at night and you're shining this directly at somebody else who's using, not even using night vision, they don't even have to have night vision to see this. If you shine this directly at them, they can see that red light. And I'll insert a picture here to see, to show you what it looks like whenever it's shining at you. But do just know that whenever it's shining off ever so slightly, like once it's not on the person anymore or off this either side, you can't see the red at all. So it pretty much just makes it to where if you can see them, they can see you. So just know that about this light if you're planning to use it in some sort of application where that matters. Now, if you're hunting or something like that, it's not that big of a deal. Whenever we were out walking around, we saw a possum. We were shining it right at the thing. It didn't seem to care whatsoever. So, I don't know. They're possums. They just kind of do whatever they want anyways. But that's just something to take note of. So, seeing what this looks like, hopefully you all were able to tell kind of a pretty good idea of what I was able to see through these nods using this. It's not usable in CQB distances. So if you want to use just this light for everything, if you do anything up close, you're just going to blind yourself. So just know that. Really, I would say probably about 15 yards and out is about, the distance you want to use this thing. I mean, you could use it in CQB stuff, I guess, if you really wanted to, but in that case, you're just going to have a really, really, really bright spot, and it's going to be kind of hard to see everything else. So just know it's pretty much a distance light only. So now where this thing shines is using it at distance. So like I said, with these, just the IR laser, or not the IR laser, but the IR Illuminator on here, and the Inforce IR flashlight that I have whenever I put it in the IR mode, that's good enough for I can see, out to about 25 yards, and maybe a little bit past that. So at that distance, I would just be using those. But what I would use this for is anything past that. So anywhere past that distance, this thing is just a beast when it comes to illuminating things. So we tested it out to probably about 300 yards. And out to 300 yards, there was a tree line, and hopefully you can see that. Actually, I don't know if that video actually showed up, but there's a tree line around 300 yards, and we were shining it. And you can see the beam at that 300 yards on those trees with Gen 1 night vision. Now, if you're using better night vision like Gen 2 or Gen 3, then this thing is going to work even better for you. But again, just know that we're limited with Gen 1 nods. So just caveat there. But at 300 yards, if someone was walking at that tree line, you could have seen the movement, and you could tell that someone was over there. I don't know that you'd be able to tell whether or not it was a person or an animal or something else, but you would definitely be able to see the movement. You'd definitely be able to see something's moving. So it worked decently well at 300 yards. At around 200 yard mark, there was a tree that we were looking at, and you could see the branches, and you could tell that there were leaves on the tree, and you could see the trunk of the tree and everything. So at about 200 yards, you would be able to tell for sure that there's a person there. And you wouldn't be able to see any details of the person necessarily, but you could tell that there was a person. And once you got to about 100 yards, or around 125, somewhere in that range, which is what the video footage that hopefully you saw was, the trees that were in the back of that video footage, there were two large trees at the end of that trail where it curved. Those trees were about 125 yards from where I was standing. And we each took turns going down there to look and see how far or how well we could see each other. And you could easily identify somebody as a person, obviously. And because I could tell what Rhett was wearing. I could tell he's wearing a helmet. I could tell he's wearing, his pants didn't match his shirt. And I could see what his arms were doing, his legs were doing. So if he was holding a rifle, I could easily see that he was wearing a rifle with this light shining on him. If he was holding a handgun, I don't think, again, with these, it'd be clear enough to where you could see the handgun. But with a rifle and this combination right here, you would definitely be able to see the rifle in their hands. So just know that 100 yards and in, you could easily identify what someone's holding for the most part. So my thoughts on the application for this thing is, one, I guess there's three different ways you could use this. One is just as a handheld spotlight, and just use it if you're traveling, under nods, or if you're in you're in some sort of situation where you're holed up somewhere and you're just guarding whatever, and you're just looking under night vision. This would allow you to see, a lot farther, to just be able to detect if people are moving towards you. You could also mount it on your helmet, I guess, in theory, if you wanted to, kind of like I did with this thing. Just mount it on the arc rail. Right here, you need a 1-inch adapter, to be able to fit it on there, or something smaller, obviously, because this is not 1 inch. But you could just mount it instead of a regular flashlight. You can mount it on the side. Now, again, just know the thing is very large. Again, this thing is just massive. So just know it's going to look goofy. The other thing that what I would use it for most likely, is to mount it on a rifle. So let me see if I can get this here. All right. So let me make sure I can get this in view. All right, so on here, if you were to mount this, you could mount it right around here. So the mount I used was actually this one on this gun. So this little offset mount, I'll leave a link to this mount specifically if you're interested in this. But this mount is just an MLok mount. It mounts directly to the rail, and it's just, kind of a 45-degree offset. So I used this mount, you know, wrap some tape around the flashlight itself, and I was able to get it to mount just like this on this rifle. Now, with this Inforce light, the Inforce light got in the way a little bit, so whenever I cranked it down, it kind of pushed the light out this way, just a smidgen. So that would have made the beam go off to the left, so I didn't like that. So what I plan on doing, and this is what I ordered, is I ordered another MLok Picatinny rail section that I can attach right here, which will make it space out just a little bit. And then I'll use like a QD offset flashlight mount that will allow me to mount it right about here. And also with it being QD, then I can take it on and off all I want, so I don't have to leave a big goofy flashlight on my gun all the time. I can just leave this, you know, in my pack or whatever anytime I want. And then if I want to put it on my gun at night or whatever, then I can throw it on there really easily. So that's what I plan on doing. And that will allow me to engage, you know, targets theoretically. I'm probably out to about 200 yards. So with that combination of this flashlight, the Gen 1 nods, and then that Hollow Sun, that's an IR Illuminator. I think it's the, I want to say it's LS117 is the model number. Could be wrong on that. I know the 117's right, but I don't remember the numbers in front of it. But this thing is good. I mean, you can see this laser out to 300 yards easily. But again, with the limitations of Gen 1 night vision, really about 200 yards is probably about the farthest I'd take a shot. 100 yards, I would feel confident all day long to take a shot with this combination. So again, just know that the main limitation of this entire system is these. So I'm just trying to find a way to make Gen 1, or even some people will use the digital night vision. And again, they're not a whole lot better than these for the most part. So some people might be kind of off-put by the fact that you can see this red light. And again, at night, it is very noticeable. At that 100-yard distance where we were standing apart from each other, you could see this big red light shining at you. Now, granted, to be fair, the IR Illuminator on this thing, you can see just as easily. It's just smaller. It reminds me on this one, it kind of looks like at a distance, it looks like someone has a video camera that, you know, has a little red light blinking or solid. That's kind of what this looks like. And this just looks like that, you know, but 3 or 4 times bigger. It's not a big deal, but again, that's one of the limitations of Gen 1 technology, so you're just kind of stuck with that. Not a whole lot you can do unless you want to go spend $3,000 on Gen 3 night vision, which I'm not willing to do yet, maybe at some point. But hopefully this helped y'all. This was something I've been looking for a while, and I'm very, very happy with this setup because it allows me to actually be effective with my setup out to 100, 200 yards, which I was pretty much stuck to about, you know, maybe 25, 50 yards at the most with this setup. So I'm incredibly happy. Hopefully you all found this useful. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them down below. I'll answer as many as I can. Give us a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That helps us a lot. And also check out our Instagram page, which I always forget to mention. So anyways, have a good one.